Good morning. It's Monday, October 9th, and we are in the third week of Libra season. It is the Three of Swords week. It is a Three of Air initiation, and threes always bring a sensation of change, and air rules our minds. So we may be having a change in our minds this week, and that is wonderful. I had a very interesting experience reading the initiation for today and reflecting on how my life has felt steadily different every single year as I've learned how to understand how powerful my ideas, my thoughts, my beliefs manifested real emotions for me. And so the first time I wrote about this initiation, I was so powerful that I actually manifested total chaos, total emotional chaos. My thoughts were so strong that I made a scenario in my head that landed me on the floor, almost incapacitated. And how interesting and amazing that our minds can create such powerful beliefs and realities for us. And over the course of the years, that has changed dramatically. And this week, we especially have some very interesting opportunities to shift our mindset. And part of that is being delivered to us by Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith moved into Virgo last week. I experienced a lot of interesting conversations in my head about that. And I actually think that for this initiation, I'm going to go through and do like a roundtable discussion of what each of the planets are saying this week, because some of them are changing signs. We have some really strong relationship dynamics at the round table this week. And so I'm going to actually start with Venus. Venus did her retrograde this year. She moved through the space of the heart. She clarified what our heart deeply desires. She is like, oh my gosh, I'm so loyal. I'm so committed. I've burned off all the dross. I know at the core level of my being what my heart deeply desires. And this week, she moved into Virgo. She finally moved out of the Temple of Leo, where she's been for months. And she stepped into the Temple of Virgo on Sunday the 8th. And now she's saying, all right, I see what your heart wants. Now let's see what actually works. So she's kind of coming to this very grounded realization that we may have had all kinds of really strong ideas, and there are so many different possibilities for how we could bring these ideas to fruition. And Venus is now very serious in the execution of what will bring her heart's desires into manifestation. And we could be very surprised this week at what our heart actually does desire. That has altered and shifted a lot in the last few months. And so what actually works might be a completely different strategy than you were anticipating using in the last couple of months. So taking some time this week to organize, to look at the data, to look at what's actually brought you closer to what your heart desires, and organizing your frame of receptivity toward that. That is what Venus is asking us to do this week. And it just started yesterday. So you might have even felt a little like, oh, no, I'm just going to do this now. This is what feels like it's actually moving the needle in my life in the direction I want to go, even if that means because I want a regulated nervous system, because I want to feel calm in my life. I want to feel peace. I want to feel healthy. I want to feel well rested. I want to feel, these are not necessarily like, oh, I have this goal. This is how I'm going to be productive toward that goal. This is, oh, this is how I want to feel. And ultimately, this is what's worked for me in creating that sensation or feeling. So the next planet we're going to talk to is Mars. Mars is sitting at the table, and Mars has been in Libra for the past month or so. And Mars will now be moving into Scorpio this week. So Mars is saying, all right, listen, I've sat with the team, I've assessed all the players, and I see the strengths and the weaknesses in what we've got going on here. Now we've got to make some tough choices and get going. So Mars is saying the time for diplomacy, the time for assessment, the time for observation is now over. It's time when I move into Scorpio to actually create those strong boundaries and begin moving. And I recently watched this show called Undercover Billionaire, where Glenn Stearns, goes into a town where nobody knows him and he builds a team, and it's getting up to the point where he's got to move forward with some really strong decisions, and he actually decides to promote certain people, and he also decides to fire certain people. He makes sure that everyone's very fairly compensated, but he knows now who he wants on his team, and he makes those hard decisions. So this energy is showing up in whatever space you have Libra. So it might not literally be that you're hiring and firing people on your team. It might be that there are certain elements to your career or legacy that are not going to fit the bill for the next season. There are certain maybe elements in the way you relate to your health that are just not going to fit the bill for the next leg of the journey. So this week, we're going to feel that shift Wednesday and Thursday. So just be prepared that in the beginning of this week, you're still making those final cuts. And then those cuts will actually occur around Wednesday or Thursday. The next planet I want to talk about is Pluto. Pluto has been moving retrograde for most of the summer. It moved into Aquarius in the spring and then back into Capricorn. And the way I describe this energy is Pluto is evolving us into the next 20-year cycle of our life. Pluto is reminding us that we mastered something over the last 15 years. We mastered something while it moved through Capricorn. That something might have felt a little bit like, I've come into my own mastery. I've applied myself to ultimately what I want my legacy to be on this planet. I have transformed through a mission, a purpose, a legacy that I feel deep in my bones I would love to bring into this lifetime. So we did a lot of education, we put in hard work, we built and failed several times over the last 15 years to get an education on what it takes for us as individuals to, bring this legacy into this life. And when Pluto is moving between the sign of Capricorn and the sign of Aquarius over these couple of years in this transition, it's saying, all right, well, now we know where we want to go, but we want to make sure we capture and retain some of the valuable lessons we learned in the last 15 years. So over the summer, we've been doing a deep review of that doctorate degree that we just got. And now that Pluto is moving direct and moving into Aquarius by January, we're going to be executing. We're going to be taking these last couple of months of this year to say, all right, I'm putting this in place. I'm putting this in place. I'm putting this in place. Because guess what? The spaceship is taking off again in January. We're going to take another exploration to the next segment of our life. We're going to see everything, make sure that all of our systems can sustain the growth. All of our life values can sustain the new movement we're making. There will be a short Pluto retrograde back to the 29th degree of Capricorn in the latter part of next year, but it won't go beyond 29. It's just going to pop back in very, very briefly, and then it'll go out back into Aquarius and not revisit this space again. So this is a year where we're definitely applying the wisdom and knowing that this wisdom will take us into the next era. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a visionary, if you're a creator, and you've had these big ideas for what you want to bring to the world, know that this time between October, November, and December, this is the time to get those structural ducks in a row to apply everything you've learned and to know that that wind is coming. The sails will sail in January. And so preparing yourself now, even if that is preparing your body, preparing your home, preparing your relationships. We all have Capricorn in a different area of our life, and that area has given us a strong 15-year education. And so double down on the wisdom from that education to hold you appropriately for the growth that we'll be experiencing coming for the next 20 years. So, the words Pluto is saying is, we've gone back as far as we need to. Now let's step into the next phase and get this thing off the ground. That's what Pluto's saying. The next planet I'd like to talk about is Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith moved into Virgo. She will be in Virgo for the next 9 months. So we have a 9-month initiation through the temple of Virgo, and Virgo is a temple that wants us to be in our greatest integrity, wants us to decipher and discern between what's valuable and what's not, to create the personal boundaries with ourselves so that we are investing in what is valuable. So for our greatest sovereignty, for our greatest wholeness, for our greatest completion. Virgo can be a very critical sign. Virgo can be a sign that can cut at the individual. And so it's very important to be aware, especially with this first little part, to be aware that we may all of a sudden find a lot of really interesting self-criticism surfacing in our system. If you have Virgo in a place in your chart that is dealing with the other, you might also find a lot of criticism with the other, but criticism is on the table. We have a roundtable discussion inside of us. Venus is saying what I shared earlier. Mars is saying his certain thing. Pluto is saying their certain thing. And Black Moon Lilith just shifted from, I don't want to repress telling my story anymore. I'm not afraid to express. I'm not afraid to show up. I'm not afraid to do Leo things. Now we're showing up, we're sharing, and Black Moon Lilith is saying, oh my gosh, are you sure that you like the way that they're showing up that way? Are you sure you like your face in that? Are you sure that your voice sounds okay here? Are you sure that the words you wrote here say actually what you want them to say? So that is if it's criticizing something about your own expression. If you've stepped into the space of relationship with the other, and now you're in relationship, you could find yourself, oh my gosh, do I like the way that I feel when I wake up in the morning next to this person? Do I like the way that we're spending our time together? I don't know if I'm really cool with how messy this is over here, or doing this other person's dishes, or like there's got to be extra accountability here. So just know that is part of us discerning what actually works and what doesn't. And if you can just let this energy serve us so the words I have here for Black Moon Lilith are, let's clean up our side of the street first. Let's be real, not worse than it is, and let's see how it can get better. So try not to turn your lens in a too critical direction. Be real with what actually is. Don't make it worse than it is. And then see how it can get better, but not because you're going to tear it apart. It's tricky. Like, it's not a bad thing to be critical in a constructive way. It doesn't serve if we're critical in a way that causes us to self-deprecate, get depressed, fall on the floor, be a puddle of nothing, and then completely contract and disappear again. That's not the goal. And unfortunately, sometimes these fears can create that kind of energy. And I'm here to just say, combat that within yourself as strongly as you can, because that's again, that's a little bit of our mind creating a climate of pain that's completely unnecessary. So how can we rein in the stories of the mind so that they don't debilitate us onto the floor, right? The next planet I would like to talk about is Saturn. So Venus, Black Moon, Lilith, there's a few planets that are going to be opposite Saturn. There's going to be a trine to Saturn with Mars. Basically, Saturn's back at square one in Pisces. The word Saturn saying, I'm back at square one. You can begin again now. It's not too late. Saturn's all the way back at 0 degrees Pisces. This is similar energy to Pluto moving all the way back in Capricorn and beginning to move forward. Basically, both Pluto and Capricorn, or both Pluto and Saturn, are saying, hey, don't worry, we're starting again. Let's regroup. Let's see what worked. Let's go back to the drawing board. You get to start fresh again. There's no such thing as it's too late. There's no such thing as I've missed the boat. There's no such thing as like whatever, all these stories. You could have stories that there's oversaturation in your market. You could have stories that no, we can't repair this. You can have stories of like, I've really screwed it up this time. Whatever these stories are, both Saturn and Pluto are saying, you're a beginner again. Today's a fresh new day. Start again. Don't worry. You can set sail again, and it's all going to be okay. You get to be a beginner, and it's not too late. And then Chiron, there is a sun opposition to Chiron this week. Chiron is saying, hey, this is what you came for. Don't shrug out now. It's okay. This is life. This is what life feels like right now. Don't shrug out of it. It's okay. And Chiron is sort of a space where we feel slightly wounded. I think that this week we'll have an opportunity to observe our wounds from a different vantage point. If we take into account all of these other parts of us, right? It's we have the potential to, I think I've already shared this, we have the potential for our mind to really injure us with its strong beliefs, but we also have an opportunity for our mind to completely liberate us this week. And that's the main thing I want to share. And the cool thing is the whole week ends with a South Node eclipse, an eclipse that would be visible in the Northern Hemisphere in the United States. On the Pacific coast, you can actually see it around 9:30 a.m. in the morning. It'll be a South Node eclipse in Libra. And I wrote a little message from the eclipse. It says, I hope it's very obvious to you now what you need to shed. Playing small, pleasing, sidestepping, or even over diplomacy won't serve anymore. It's time to show the actual balance sheet and make it right. So I think what that means is if we're overlooking some sort of injustice in our life, if we sacrifice some of ourself in order to balance the books in our life, that is the thing that's being sucked out, swept out with this eclipse. We're going to have an opportunity. Eclipses are sort of like vacuums. We're going to have an opportunity this week to just surrender and let go of some relationship role that we've played in our lives that made the balance sheet a little imbalanced. If we've done the extra emotional work in our relationships, if we've done the extra sacrifice, if we've done the extra giving, if we've done any of the pieces on our side of the equation that have left our relationships feeling imbalanced or out of alignment or out of right relationship, this eclipse is saying it should be obvious by now. If it's not obvious, just open up and surrender and just let the eclipse do its thing. The eclipses are not necessarily so active. The best way we can be active during an eclipse is just to surrender and let go, just to be present and authentic with ourselves, to just trust that there's a mechanism that's supporting us, that's serving us, that we're in relationship with, that wants us to be in right relationship. So that is kind of the roundtable discussion for this week. I wanted to take a little extra time with that this week because of how many major movements are happening and how tender and sensitive we could be to the stories of our minds this week. As I break the week down day by day, Sunday, the moon was in Leo. As we said, Venus moved into Virgo. Black moon Lilith was opposite Saturn. Mars was square Pluto. There was kind of a lot yesterday. And all the words I have for Sunday are, we feel the difference on the inside, so the outside is shifting. It might have just felt like, wow, that totally was different. Amazing. How amazing that when the inside changes, the outside automatically adjusts. On Monday, today, the moon is still in Leo. Venus and Black moon Lilith are conjunct today. Venus is now at that very early degree with Black moon Lilith, and they're both opposite Saturn. Saturn, again, is saying, hey, don't worry. You can go back to square one. You can start again. Just start again today. But the words I have for Monday are, we have a deep receptivity to a healed state. We're very receptive to our healed state. That tangibly looks like, feels like it for me, honestly, it looked like sitting quietly, reflecting at my desk, just reflecting on like, if I was starting today, if I was starting at square one and I was going to double down, or I was going to, just remind myself of what's going really well and then continue to focus in that direction. Like, I don't need to have shame that I'm shifting. I don't have, like, I opened this conversation when we all joined in the group with, hey, Tara, guess what? There are a few things in the spring that I talked to you about that actually didn't work for me last spring. And I've tried some new things and they're working a little better. And it's okay for me to admit that certain things haven't worked in my life and certain things are. And now, how can I start from that wisdom place? So that for me felt like a deep state of receptivity to something that's healed inside of me around being right or doing the right thing. Tuesday, Pluto moves direct on Tuesday. The moon's in Virgo on Tuesday. The moon, Venus, Black moon Lilith, all of that is opposite Saturn on Tuesday. And the sun is opposite Chiron. Tuesday's a big day. And when I say big day, it doesn't have to mean this is a hard day. It doesn't have to mean this is going to be a challenging day. It's like such a milestone day in our consciousness. The milestone is, wow, look how far I've come. Look at all the value I have right now in this moment. We are feeling a lot on Tuesday, and we're aware of what has healed. It's not a day to override any sensation. It's not a day to cope away anything. This is a day that could feel very, very real. And having the support of Saturn saying, it's okay, you can begin again. It's okay. We're clearing out all the old relating patterns. It's okay. Just let that be your mantra this week. It's okay. On Wednesday, the moon will still be in Virgo. We're still going to be feeling a lot of the energy that the ripening fruit of Tuesday is still on the vine on Wednesday. And Wednesday is a question, what can I manifest now from this state? And I mean manifest in the gentlest way. If I am in a new state of feeling, recognition of my healed self, what will generate from that state? And Mars will be in a trine to Saturn, that this is right before Mars moves into Scorpio. So we kind of have this moment of reflection on Wednesday before really stepping into that decisive space where the boundary lines are drawn on Thursday. And on Thursday, the words are feeling the lens shift to the other. So when I say that we're feeling a lens shift on Thursday, this lens shift could basically, it's just, okay, I was looking at all of this. I was looking at the past. I was looking at my patterns. I was looking at what works. Now I'm going to shift it to execution mode, like where I'm literally enacting, I'm creating those boundaries, I'm being decisive, making the choices. It's the season finale of the first season of $1 Million Undercover Billionaire, where he says, all right, now we got to open this place. You are all on my team. Let's do it. So this it's that kind of energy. And then on Friday, the moon will be in Libra. We're preparing for our solar eclipse. And the words I have here are observing from new ground. I think we'll take a new observational stance on this day. Where we really, I don't know, it's probably because that show is just really fresh. What it feels like is, all right, can I trust that everything I put into motion, I'm observing, let's see how it worked. It doesn't mean everything will work perfectly. It just means, let me observe it and let's trust that what I've invested in, what I've put forward, what I've created boundaries around, that was made from a wise place, and let's see how it goes. And then on Saturday, we're fully shedding the old role for a new one. This is that new moon eclipse. And I'm the sense I have here is show up and see what happens. Just show up to the eclipse, observe it if you'd like, and let it do what it does. It's like we kind of go into a state of surrender by the end of the week. And so that's the report for this week. It's beautiful. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to the power of this week very much, especially because I really trust the way that my mind is working these days and the focal points I've been putting my mind to and the assurance I've been putting my body to. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. Oh, one last announcement. My planner is available on Amazon. The marketplace is open and I've already received orders and it's super exciting. And it's the most exciting thing. I'm so I love next year's planner so deeply. And I cannot wait for everyone to get their hot little hands on them. And so anyways, that's my big announcement. And I appreciate all of you for supporting this work all year long, for tuning in every single Monday, and for validating the way that this guidance has been supporting your life. It's given me so much fuel to continue this work, and that's so deeply important. And I hope that you all are fueled so deeply in your own work as well. I hope that we all can create community that fuels bringing our mission into the world. And I really think that's what this whole Pluto Capricorn situation was about. It was about doubling down on the team that supports the work you're doing in the world, doubling down on the structure and support that you need to continue taking this to the next level. And I'm experiencing it real time. And I see the people who are present here watching this video and present with me in this group. You're the ones that are supporting me continuing my mission. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much.